I've been doing a lot of thinking about light and what exactly it entails and what it means. And this talk is going to range across a really wide area of material. So I'm going to try to bring this all together and make it cohesive and make it make sense, but I'm throwing a lot of stuff against the wall. So I'm going to give you a bit of a roadmap as we go along and go into this. First of all, a bit about where I'm coming from. I started off as a political cartoonist in the media, and here's a sample of a piece of my work. This is from Maclean's magazine, Gord of the Rays. Golem Campbell with his precious games, precious games. This is from Common Ground magazine, what really finished off the people of Easter Island. So this is how I got into the media as a political cartoonist. I was somebody, I did caricatures of family members, teachers, so I sublimated my attitude problem about authority into a career, and it was paid for. So eventually I got into freelance writing. So here's some of the outlets where my stuff has appeared. A lot of what I write on is on pop culture, politics, international events, and tonight this is something, a chance for me to talk about something that's a little bit different. It involves an interest of mine that extends to things that are a little deeper than you can usually fit into a 700-word column. So I'm going to explain to you where we're going to go with this, because I think it's a good idea to give you a roadmap to tell you exactly where we're going to go. I'm going to talk about light and awe, light and wonder. And we're going to go from that to light as metaphor and mystery, there to light, the light of Jacques Lussirat, who was a blind leader of the French resistance, and then the weirdness of quanta, objective and subjective science and spirituality, the light of Arthur M. Young, who I think is one of the great forgotten geniuses of the 20th century. And then a digression into solar power. And we're going to end the conclusion about the quantum of action as cosmic impulse. So now I'm going to start with a bit of from a pop culture angle here. I don't know how many of you recognize this little clip here. This is an image from YouTube. What it was several months ago, there was a fellow by the name of Yosemite Bear, otherwise known as Double Rainbow Guy, and he posted a video clip from his little digital camera of this massive double rainbow that he saw outside his little cabin in Yosemite Park. And he was completely overwhelmed by this. He filmed this and he starts, well, what I'm going to do, I'll play this for you, give you a sense of one person's reaction to a natural display of light.
Whoa, that's a full rainbow. All the way. Double rainbow. Oh my God. It's a double rainbow all the way. Whoa. Whoa. Man.
Probably thinking now, okay, Olson, why are you showing us this? Well, it was interesting to me. First of all, I found myself laughing more with him than at him, with this double rainbow guy, otherwise known as Yosemite Bear, because he made an attempt, and as much as it didn't really succeed in conveying the wonders of a rainbow through a little 72 dpi image on YouTube on a computer screen, he made an honest attempt to share his wonderment with people and his awe. So he's coming from a place of like, my God, this is incredible. I want other people to see this. But what was interesting was the media response to this. After he posted this on YouTube, Jimmy Kimmel discovered this, pronounced this the most hilarious video ever, he said. And then the Toronto Star weighed in. They said, thanks to Jimmy Kimmel, if it hadn't been for Jimmy Kimmel, this would have languished in the dregs of the internet. Nobody would have ever known of this. He was brought on Good Morning America, and they asked him, well, were you high? And he says, no, man, I was just on pure rainbow power. I mean, it is over the top. He starts laughing hysterically when he sees the rainbow at one point, and then he starts crying, and sort of in an ecstatic response to this. And I thought of all the things that we're supposed to be in awe of, the latest, biggest SUV, a baseball player's signing bonus, the new superstar CEO parachuted into some company, what we're supposed to feel awe and wonderment about, this guy attempts this, and he's made a figure of ridicule, and he's made ludicrous. And I thought that was a really telling kind of commentary on the media and on our own, the nature of wonderment. Because when we see, Double Rainbow Guy is different from us in degree, but not in kind. Because I think all of us here have had an experience of seeing some natural display of light. Sunset, sunrise, some intense kind of luminous display, and we've had a response to it deep in our core. We've all had that sense. And we also have sense of light as being a metaphor, right? We have expressions like illumination, enlightenment, dawn of awareness, the light bulb above the head. Smart people are brilliant, really brilliant people are dazzling. Even the term for thought itself, we talk about reflection. This occurs across all languages. It's not just limited to English. So in the Tibetan language, Vajra is the thunderbolt or diamond that erases ignorance. If you think of that, a thunderbolt or diamond, what could be a more perfect description of something so intensely brilliant and bright? So we have this idea of light as being a connection between light and consciousness and states of awareness. Now, on one hand, this makes perfectly good sense. This makes perfectly good sense that we would have that metaphor because when things are brightly lit, they're in sharp outline, we see them clearly. Conversely, when we're in the darkness, we stumble around, we get lost. So on that level, it makes perfectly good sense. What I'm going to argue in this talk is that this is more than a metaphor. This harkens back to a very primary form of human perception and connection to the world that we live in. We also have a sense of light as being a mystery. There's something mysterious about light, and it affects us deeply. The best cinematographers and painters over time have exploited the natural properties of light to that effect, so we're affected by the mood, by the scenery in a particular setup of a film or painting. And this fellow here, who you all recognize, he once said that the most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It is the source of all true art and all science. He to whom this emotion is a stranger, who can no longer pause to wonder and stand wrapped in awe, is as good as dead. His eyes are closed. Good words for Jimmy Kimmel to recite, memorize for his TV show maybe. Now there are some mysteries, though, I feel, that science will never, ever solve. Some things are beyond human comprehension. For example, personally, I don't understand how Nicolas Cage could be considered a leading man in Hollywood films.
Yeah,
I don't get that. I don't understand how entertainers give themselves names like retard and ludicrous and expect to be taken seriously. But the biggest mystery of all, for me, this is the biggest one, is in those cop shows. What happens in the domestic disputes, always at the end of the episode, the guy's shirt disappears. Maybe it's got something to do with quantum physics, a parallel universe. That's where the shirts go. I don't know. In any case, the quantum is considered among scientists, among philosophers, to be the deepest, greatest mystery of all. Light is a form, comes in quantized form. It's a particle and it's a wave. And still people are trying to wrap their minds around this and trying to figure out exactly how does this work. It's the smallest unit of time, space, and action. So as far as we know, we can't get anything smaller. And superstring theory is looking a bit dodgy nowadays, so we don't know if we can even theoretically get below that bottom level of reality. So this is the basic ultimate stuff that composes our space-time, our existence we live in. Now I want to talk about, and how many of you saw anybody see the Common Ground article I wrote about light, and I talked about Jacques Lucien? Lucien was a blind leader of the French resistance, and he's the first of our science and philosophy all-stars. He was a writer, very philosophical, very lyrical writer, and he wrote about his experiences under German occupation in the south of France. Now what made him so remarkable is he was blind, and he was blind as a leader in the resistance. But he had this very strange, intense connection with light. So even before his blindness, and he was blinded in an accident in a schoolyard at the age of 8, 100% blind. Even before then, he had this deep, intuitive, visceral connection to the light around him. So in his memoirs, he writes that before his blindness, he says, the light was not like the flow of water, but something more fleeting and numberless, for its source was everywhere. Radiance multiplied, reflected itself from one window to the next, from fragment of wall to cloud above. It entered into me, became part of me. I was eating sun. So he had this kind of very personal kind of connection to the world of light. Now when he became blind as a result, when he lost eyesight, he wasn't left in total darkness. So in his memoirs he wrote, I began to look more closely, not at things, but at a world closer to myself, looking from an inner place to one further within, instead of clinging to the movement of sight toward the world outside. Immediately, the substance of the universe drew together, redefined, and peopled itself anew. I was aware of a radiance emanating from a place I knew nothing about, a place which might as well have been outside of me as within. That radiance was there, or to put it more precisely, light. I found light and joy at the same moment. Now, the remarkable thing about this and his experience is Lucy Wren says in his memoirs, he claims that when he was calm and collected and at peace, he wasn't fearful or angry, that this inner world of light would sometimes accurately mirror the world around him. So he would be with a friend in the south of France, walking along a country road that he'd never been before, and he would point to the horizon in a line of trees, of poplars or some other landmark, and his friend would verify that they were in fact there. So it sounds as if there's something happening here that runs deeper than a blind person's normal rote memory and memorization, where they know how to navigate their home or their neighborhood. There's something more going on here, whatever it was. So he became a leader of the French resistance. One reason he did was being a blind person, which often happens to people who suffer from blindness, their other perceptions ramp up. So his sense of hearing became very acute, and he was a very good judge of people's character. You could hear the intonations and stresses in their voices. So any would-be recruits were brought towards Lucien, and he would listen to them, talk to them, and get a sense of whether they were trustworthy or not, whether they were reliable or not. Now, the other thing he was doing as one of the leaders in the resistance, he and his friends, young friends, and these were all men, 75% of the French resistance was composed of men under the age of 30. So we're talking about really young men. And Lucien and his friends were like in their late teens, early 20s. And they were printing, at night, they were printing a newspaper detailing Nazi atrocities and distributing this in the south of France under German occupation. Very risky business. Eventually, he was caught, Lucien and his friends, sent to Buchenwald. Most of his friends didn't survive. Lucien did, and lived till 1971. So here is one experience I'm just trying to convey here, that there's one person's experience of an inner light that goes beyond the mere metaphorical description of it. And I'm going to give you more examples of this as we go on.